Welcome to Under the Influence with Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull, here to play you some of the music that has influenced me as a musician over the years. And this week we're visiting the world of, well, they call it classic rock, and I'm never really quite sure what classic rock is. I suppose it has to be old enough and have sold enough. And probably to be bold enough to have been, listed amongst the great music of all time. But amongst that plethora of styles and artists who come under the classic rock banner, some of it is not just classic, it's classy. It's classy rock. So that's the title of this week's program, Classy Rock. And it's a little middle of the road, some of it, but I've resisted the temptation to go down that dangerous street and visit people like Bon Jovi. They're definitely not in this program. Or Bryan Adams, he's not in it either. But Foreigner are. And Foreigner began, strangely of course, not really an entirely American band, but with a good old classy English songwriter and guitar player behind them. Foreigner were one of those bands that caught my attention in, I guess it was the late 70s, rather than the early 80s when they first appeared. And they did music that was convincing, solid, tough-sounding, manly, very classy rock music, and featured what I guess for me is probably the all-time great rock tenor singer, Lou Gramm. And let's hear Lou Gramm with not one of the real out-and-out rockers, but a classic rock ballad, a classy rock ballad called Waiting for a Girl Like You.
Don't know Anderson, Under the Influence.
Much more in the rock idiom, that one, from Foreigner, Head Games. But did you know that Waiting for a Girl Like You was actually featuring the Ian Anderson flute when it was performed live on a TV show a couple of years ago in Germany? And I was the one who got Lou Gramm out of semi-retirement to come and do that show. And Lou is still alive and well, thankfully, after an almost terminal experience with a brain tumour a few years ago, which he narrowly survived, and has begun once again to tread the boards and sing, albeit perhaps not with his original range and conviction, but nonetheless good to have him back. Lou Gramm, one of the great singers of all time. That was Head Games from an early Foreigner album, the name of which I forget. But my memory's not what it used to be. I didn't know how many songs I knew by Toto until I was dragged down to the Munich Olympia Halle a couple of years ago to get up and stage and play live with Toto in their encore. And Al Di Meola, the jazz guitarist, and I were summoned to the stage to play along with something that we were simply told was called A minor. And even if they had told me the name of this song, it would have meant nothing to me because I wasn't really a Toto fan. But having got up and played with the guys, I kind of got interested in what they'd done. And I was amazed to realise that there are these 4 or 5 songs that you just heard all the time on the radio during the 80s and early 90s, which were by this very, very classy band called Toto. And they're all great musicians, and particularly the addition of Steve Lukather to the ranks, both as a singer as well as a guitar player, have consolidated that, and the band are still out and about and playing lots of shows periodically throughout Europe, where they do really well. And I last saw them playing at the Albert Hall a year or so ago, and mighty fine they sounded too. Kind of straight ahead, a little over-polished sometimes for my taste, but you can't deny they've got a very good songwriting and kind of rock basis of doing things when they feel like it. They can churn it out, and churn it out they did in a very melodic way, and with bold and skillful vocal harmonies, and what is one of their most famous pieces ever, called Hold the Line. This is Well, having played with Toto, maybe I should try and get a job with the Rasmus, because they're my favourite pop rock band of all time. Again, they were on a TV show with me once, and that's how I got to know them. Not exactly the most charismatic of people, stepping on and off the stage, but Finnish pop rock at its very best. They're really, really good writers, producers, and frontman has got a quality of vocal that you can only admire, especially for a grizzly old fella like me. I would have loved to have sung like him when I was his age. This is the Rasmus, a Finnish pop rock band. We're going to hear them now playing their biggest hit from the early album. This is called In the Shadows. I'm Ian Anderson, and this is Planet Rock. We'll be back after the break.
It always sounds better when you're under the influence. Ian Anderson on Planet Rock.
How can you see into my
You're back with Ian Anderson, Under the Influence, playing some classy rock, and it doesn't get classier or even more contemporary, really, than that a piece of music by that band Evanescence. And I didn't really know much about Evanescence until my wife suddenly started playing it all the time in the car as we're driving around America, and she'd heard them somewhere and bought a CD, and I got to really like this stuff. And they're a good example of how, with contemporary influences of, I guess, some little Eastern feel, some skillful arranging, some careful putting together, because I think it's basically boy-girl kind of relationship, songwriting and performing team, supplemented by some other musicians to make up a band called Evanescence. But whatever they are, they do some good stuff in the studio. Never seen them live. Can they do it on stage? Who knows? But a great band, Bring Me to Life, from their first big-selling album there, and that's Evanescence, for whom I have a growing respect and a small amount of passion. Great band, great sound. We're going to move on to the biggest rock band of all time. They couldn't possibly have failed to influence Jethro Tull a little bit, and maybe in some curious way we might have passed some of that back to Led Zeppelin when we were their lowly support band on their first big arena tour in the USA in the summer of 1969, and we were given the opportunity to go on and play for 35 minutes of fevered interpretation of blues and some more eclectic stuff that we did as opener for the Zeps. And I think what I learned most from Led Zeppelin was probably the ability to bring into their music a lot of dynamics. They knew how to do quiet stuff. They knew how to leave space between the notes, as well as to power things on with big rock riffs and dense guitar chords. They knew about the value of space and the economy that lies sometimes with simple Spartan performances. And later on, when Zeppelin did this track that we're going to hear now, they had perhaps entered more eclectic territory than they started off with when we got to know them in '69, and in many ways probably paralleled the Jethro Tull interest in music from Asia, from the East, from the Mediterranean, from North Africa. All of these things were part of my early musical desires and influences that I try to bring out on records from Stand Up in '69 onwards. So this is Zeppelin's probably most famous piece, which I've been playing in the last few months, not me playing so much as accompanying the young Lucia Micarelli, our solo violinist, guest artist who appears with Jethro Tull and is appearing with me on orchestral concerts at the moment. And Lucia does an arrangement of Kashmir, which is the song we're going to hear, and I can't play it for you because we haven't recorded it yet. Maybe she'll ask me to record it for her. Who knows? But in the meantime, let's hear the original. This is Led Zeppelin's Kashmir, one of the great, I suppose, kind of folk rock things of all time. More than just a little touch of Eastern promise here.
Traveler of both time and space. a trace, like thoughts inside a dream. He's the path that led me to that place, yellow desert screen. My Shangri-La beneath the summer moon, I will return again. As the dust that floats high into when moving through Kashmir. Sails across the sea of fear, with no provision but an open face, blowing the straits of fear. Whoa, whoa.
You're listening to Ian Anderson Under the Influence with some classy rock. You're under the influence with Ian Anderson. We're going to hear, well, one of rock's great guitar players, a mean machine. He plays a strange Fender Stratocaster with scalloped fingerboards with kind of grooved out pieces between the frets for whatever style of playing that makes him stand apart from the masses. Richie Blackmore is a great guitar player, a great lyricist as a guitar player. He's a tuneful guy. I like people who can create melody with a guitar and not just blind you with a barrage of notes strung together like musical diarrhea, the way it so often happens. Then and now. How many notes you can fit into the bar does not determine how good you are as a guitar player. Richie, of course, can play as fast as the best of them and as slow as you like and still make it sound great. Richie had a band, of course, after Deep Purple, which featured a number of singers and other musicians, basically because Richie's a pretty hard guy to work for and has a reputation of being, well, pretty mean and dastardly. He likes a good practical joke, I suppose, demonstrated by the fact that he hires people and fires them again the following night. Ho, 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 that was fun. Little Ronnie Dio didn't last too long in Rainbow, because when Richie asked me one night when they were playing on some dates with Jethro Tull, what do you think of the new singer? I said, well, he's all right. He's short, and poor Ronnie got fired right after that. I said, Richie, I didn't say I didn't like him. I just said he was short. You told me to get rid of him, said Richie. I said, I didn't say that at all. I was putting words into my mouth. Poor old Ronnie. But he did. He had a stint with Black Sabbath after that, so he presumably pocketed a bit more dosh somewhere along the way. Rainbow, they had a great big hit with this piece, and I can't remember the name of the singer, but he's one of many. And God bless him, whoever he was. This is Rainbow with Since You've Been Gone.
Anderson on Planet Rock.
Speak the rhythm on your
good one there from Soundgarden. He's called Spoonman. Spoonman. I met Spoonman in Seattle, the home of the Seattle Sound, featuring Soundgarden and Nirvana and a bunch of folks like that. Pearl Jam. I could have put Pearl Jam in here, but they're not really classy. They're a bit too rough and ready. Soundgarden were a bit more polished than the other Seattle Sound bands of the late 80s, early 90s period, and more than a little influenced, I suspect, by Led Zeppelin. Spoonman, I met him. He turned up at a Jethro Tull concert not too many years ago and offered to play the spoons for me backstage. And I just thought he was some crazy mad fan who'd kind of got through the backstage security. And we kind of humoured him for a minute, and then he revealed that he was indeed the Spoonman of the Soundgarden song title, and apparently it was a pal of theirs who played spoons for Soundgarden too backstage. So at least I have that little bit in common. The Spoonman. I know who he is. We're going to move on to one of the great bands of that period who really were classy. These are trained musicians. These are guys who came up in the New York scene, and certainly I would be amazed if they hadn't all been to Berklee College of Music in Boston or somewhere to learn their skills. They're really, really, truly great musicians. Very, very clever, able to handle different time signatures, play in a variety of styles, and draw from the whole heritage of rock music from the 60s onwards and give it a little polish, put a little spin on it in that period in the 90s when they did triple platinum with their first album. The spin comes from the Spin Doctors, or simply Spin Doctors without the, as far as I remember. This is one of the first things I ever heard from them. It's a great track called Jimmy Olsen's Blues.
Planet Rock with Ian Anderson, Under the Influence.
Well, this is Ian Anderson, and you're Under the Influence. We'll be back after the news.
Planet Rock. Planet Rock. UK. Planet Rock.
You're back with Ian Anderson, Under the Influence, listening to some classy rock. Back to Blackmore's Night. Richie Blackmore in his current guise with that impossibly attractive young lady partner, wife? Not quite sure what Candace actually is, but Candace's mum is the manager for Blackmore's Night and is one tough cookie, so all the promoters tell me, and perhaps the perfect foil for Richie in his more Luciferian moments. Candace's mum is even darker than dark, from what I've heard. Tough lady to deal with. I met her once. She seemed perfectly reasonable and just turns into a demon when she has to make deals with promoters. Hence, Richie doesn't work perhaps as often as he would like to. Yeah, he called me about getting on a tour together in America, and I asked around through the agents and promoters in the US, hey, how about having Blackmore's Night, and with Jethro Tull, and I got a kind of 50% interesting idea and a 50% not on your life. No, they didn't want to. Too many bad stories about Richie. He was a bad boy. He's probably much reformed now with the good influence of the lovely Candace, who couldn't sing for toffee, I have to say. I mean, to begin with, she was kind of an embarrassment, but the girl actually has learned to sing really rather well, and she's a very nice person. And it was with some amusement that I learned that Richie had actually recorded with Candace and Blackmore's Night a Jethro Tull piece, because he has a bit of a soft spot for Jethro Tull for reasons that I don't really fully understand, but Richie kind of likes something about Jethro Tull, and he recorded this relatively little-known piece from Jethro Tull that featured, I think, ultimately on maybe a B-side of a single in the 70s, and I think it was recorded somewhere around about 74-ish. Found its way onto the 20th anniversary album, I think. Anyway, I had to look hard to find this one, but it was somewhere in my record collection. Blackmore's Night here with their rendition, nicely sung by the young and impossibly beautiful Candace. This is called Rainbow Blues.
The rain wasn't made of water. The snow didn't have a place in the sun, so we slipped behind the rainbow and lay back till we had done. And then the rain wasn't made of water, and the snow didn't have a place in the sun, so we slept behind the rainbow and laid back till we had done. Northern lights on back streets. I told the coachman to drive me on. It's the same old destination, but a different world to sing upon. So it grew like its head and it comes head. I got out about 5 to 9, and I waved at the stage doorkeeper. Said, "Mister, get me to that stage on time." And then the rain wasn't made of water, and the snow didn't have a place in the sun, so we slept behind the rainbow and laid back till we had done. I packed my ammunition inside the crowd. It was shining on call, but I had the most funny feeling. It wasn't me they were shouting for, so when the tall dark lady smiled at me, I said, "Oh baby, let us go for a ride." And we came upon 2 drinks or 4 and popped them so neatly inside. And then the rain wasn't made of water, and the snow didn't have a place in the sun, so we slept behind the rainbow and laid back till we had done. And the vacuum deep in my suitcase, well, there's sure to be room for 2. Or you can drive me to the airplane, but don't let me get those rainbow blues. And then the rain wasn't made of water, and the snow didn't have a place in the sun, so we slept behind the rainbow and laid back till we had done. Yes, and then the rain wasn't made of water, and the snow didn't have a place in the sun, so we slept behind the rainbow and laid back till we had done. The rain wasn't made of water, the snow didn't have a place in the sun. The rain wasn't made of water, the snow didn't have a place in the sun.
Poor old Chris Martin. He was the darling of the media a couple of years ago. And then things started to go a bit doolally. I guess he spoke a little out of turn here and there, knocked the odd 80 million off the EMI share price overnight when he said some unfortunate things about the record industry, and then again more recently at the Brits when he suddenly announced from the stage that we wouldn't be hearing from Coldplay again for a long, long time, he said, which caused almost cardiac arrest from Eric Nicolai, the chairman of EMI, when he pricked up his ears at that particular sentence. But yeah, Chris, he sometimes speaks a little out of turn and maybe lives to regret it, but somehow no longer the darling that he was a couple of years ago. And I only got to know Coldplay much more recently, just actually in the last few months, because my daughter is part of the team of helpers behind the world of Chris and Gwyneth and family and so on and so forth. And in fact, Chris and Gwyneth came to my daughter's wedding fairly recently, and little Apple was a bridesmaid, and a sterling young, very young, 2-year-old bridesmaid she made as well. So I kind of got to know Chris a little bit, and I've really quite a respect for him as a songwriter, and a certain sadness that like happens to so many, if not all bands, from the infatuation of the and critical acclaim, suddenly things can turn against you, and they want to drag you down again, just as they built you up in the first place. I think that's just a little phase that people are going through with Coldplay. I'm pretty convinced myself Chris Martin will have a long and successful and very artistically profitable life as a singer and songwriter into the future. This is a piece of Coldplay's music that, as I say, I learned about recently, and so sorry if it's old hat to you guys, but for me this is a bit of musical and lyrical fresh air called Figure.
When you try your best but you don't succeed, when you get what you want but not what you need, when you feel so tired but you can't sleep, stuck in rivers, and the tears come streaming down your face, when you lose something you can't replace, when you love someone but it goes to waste, could it be worse? Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you.
Ian Anderson on Planet
Oh no, I see a spider web is tangled up with me, and I lost my head and thought of all the stupid things I'd said. And I'm caught in the middle, so I turned it around and thought of all the stupid things I'd done. And I never meant to cause you trouble, and I never meant to do you wrong. Never meant to do you harm. Oh no, I see a spider web and it's me in the middle. So I twist and turn, but here am I in my little bubble, singing out, I never meant to cause you trouble, and I never meant to do you wrong, and well, if I ever caused you trouble, never meant to do you harm. They spun a web for me, and they spun a web for me, and they spun a web for me.
That was Coldplay with another recent song called Trouble. And yeah, in spite of all the bad things some people say about them, Coldplay are really one of my favourite bands at the moment, and great singer-songwriter in the shape of Chris Martin. We're going to move on to a selection of songs that feature original artists. They are indeed classic rock, and done this way, a kind of classy rock, featuring yours truly playing semi-invited, if not entirely warranted, flute accompaniment, so it has a kind of topicality, and you probably won't have heard this material because I had to dig deep to find the recordings of this, which were recorded live on a German television show a couple of years ago, which was a big 3-hour spectacular to celebrate 50 years of rock and roll, beginning with the Bill Haley Rock Around the Clock, and so for the next 50 years, we've endured all kinds of things under the guise of rock and roll and rock, and some of the artists who played live on that program were able to get together and do something unusually for German television, which was truly live, and we had a little bit of rehearsal and a run-through. So some of the stuff is a little bit rough and ready, but there aren't too many wrong notes. I defy you to find more than two. The first two will probably be fairly easy.
There is a house way down in New Orleans, Louisiana. They call the rising sun, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. God, I know I'm one. Yeah, yes I am. Oh Lord, yeah. My mother was a tailor. She saw my jeans, yeah, yeah. My father was a gambling man. Way down in New Orleans, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going home, baby, one of these days. All right. Well, yeah, tell your baby children not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in a house they call a rising sun. God, I know I'm one. Oh Lord, house of the rising sun, yeah.
Well, that was a weird one. That was Eric Burdon, the Eric himself, with a string quartet and Ian Anderson on the flute, playing House of the Rising Sun, as recorded on a German TV show, 50 Years of Rock and Roll, just a couple of years ago. And first time I got to see Eric for a long time, and actually probably the first time I ever really had a conversation with the guy. And he's an okay bloke, Eric. He's alive and well and slightly apologetic for some of his bad behaviour over the last 40 years, and asked me to mention him fondly to some of the promoters who, rather like Richie, are a little nervous about booking Eric, Uncle Eric, due to his extravagancies of old in terms of temper tantrums and fisticuffs. But no, Eric is a man mended in ways, and still has what it takes when he sings. He's got all the authority and gravelly, aged quality to his voice that make it a delight to listen to and to play with. Eric Burdon with House of the Rising Sun. We'll be back after the break.
The home of the real rock revolution. Planet Rock. Ian Anderson is under the influence on Planet Rock.
Wow, we're going to move on to a piece legendary, I suppose, as from the days of the hippie era. Maybe I even played this one on an earlier program. I suspect I did. But this is Gary Brooker, aided by Matthew Fisher, the original organist, and me and a few others playing live our version, not too changed from the original, of Whiter Shade of Pale. And I was on this because we thought Gary Brooker alone was showing up in the studio to record it with us, but as it turned out, Matthew Fisher came along as well, after I had learnt the organ part to play on the flute. And of course, during rehearsal, I suddenly heard, wait a minute, I'm hearing an organ. I turned around and saw Matthew Fisher, behind me, looking daggers at me because I'm playing his line, stealing his very, very, very modest moment of fame, stealing the thunder there that came from the Hammond organ at the back. And but the producers, in spite of my offering to step aside and let Matthew play, said, no, you got to be here. You're billed to be on this. And so I endured the knife-like thrust of Matthew Fisher's daggers in the back of my neck all the way through this live recording of Whiter Shade of Pale.
At first just go sleep, turn to whiter shade of pale. Through my playing cards, would not let her be one of 16 vessel virgins who were leaving for the coast. just go sleep. Turn the wider shade of pale. At first, just go sleep. Turn wider, shade of pale. It's getting dark. My legs closing tired eyes. So be with you, my love. To give you my dawn so bright. Be with you, darling, soon. Be with you when the stars are falling. I've been waiting so long to be where I'm going, in the sunshine of your love. All right. I'm with you, my love. The light shining through all of you. If I'm with you, my love, it's more than just we two. Yeah. I stay with you, darling, now. I stay with you till my seas are all dried I've been waiting so long to be where I'm going, in the sunshine of your love. Steady.
from the dead, literally back from a coma, came Jack Bruce. A couple of years ago, Jack, following some serious surgery, liver transplant, I believe it was, fell into a coma and was in a pretty terminal state. In fact, I called his daughter just before going on stage in a theatre in New York. We were on a UK tour a couple of years ago, and to see how Jack was, and she told me very sadly they were going to pull the plug on him that night. Jack was on life support and plugged into various machines, monitoring machines, and on a drip feeding him anti-rejection drugs for the liver transplant, and had not come out of the coma for some 10 days. And they advised the family that it was probably time to call it a day and pull the plug out the wall. And so Natasha, Jack's daughter, said, I think tonight's the night, that's what we're going to have to do. And with great sadness, I went on stage, and we had a minute of respectful silence for Jack Bruce and all the great things we remember him for on stage. And then the next day, I called Natasha again to see how things were. Was Jack gone? And she said, no, the unbelievable thing happened that we switched off the drip for the anti-rejection drugs, and lo and behold, there was some flicker of life from Jack, and the next day he regained consciousness, and in fact he'd had this incredibly rare and hitherto unknown reaction to the anti-rejection drugs that had actually kept him in this coma. And the even scarier thing is, Jack revealed to me when we were doing this TV show a few months later, when he was literally back from the dead, and it was his first public, almost his first step out of the house, let alone on the public stage. He was a very shaky Jack Bruce, but he got through this show and told me of the stories. When he was under the coma, he was actually aware of a lot of the stuff going on around him, and he actually heard the doctors and his family talking about pulling the plug out of him on that night, and was absolutely furious. He said the 4-letter words that were going through my silent mouth, you wouldn't believe, but I heard what they were saying, and I fought really, really hard and came out of it. So Jack's back with us, and of course a couple of Cream concerts later, he's not only alive and reasonably well, but set to do some more. So well done, Jack, and great to have you back, as it was when we recorded Sunshine of Your Love. And great opportunity for me to play one of the classic rock riffs of all time, and you know what? Jack was even pleased to have me there. We'll be back after the break.
Exercise. It's so overrated. You want to raise your pulse?
Just sit back and enjoy the magic of rock.
Turn up the rock.
You're listening to Ian Anderson Under the Influence with some classy rock. And the 80s. In the 80s, sometimes I think not a lot happened. A lot of synthesizer rock. But there were a couple of bands that seemed to stand head and shoulders above everybody else, who still had the ability to play really good music, and I guess were very fitting for the times, in as much as they didn't seem to owe too much to the traditions of what had gone before. They brought some freshness to it, but they did so with very great musical capabilities, songwriting capabilities, good lyrics, interesting tunes. And the first of those is a band that I guess we'd love to hear play live today, but sadly they are no longer together. But Mark Knopfler most certainly is, and he's out and about playing the music of Dire Straits, probably as we speak. So go and see Mark if you have the opportunity. One of the great guitar players, sits alongside Clapton and Hendrix and Page and Richie Blackmore, as being one of the great guys who can really make a guitar sing. This is the first time I ever heard Dire Straits played all the time, non-stop on American radio, and a really nice groove here that we'd all love to play on this one, wouldn't we, given the opportunity? So far, he hasn't asked me. Bugger. It's called Sultans of Swing, Dire Straits.
You get a shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime, sound of the river, you stop and you hold everything. A band is blowing Dixie, double fall time. You feel alright when you hear the music ring. Well, now you step inside, but you don't see too many faces.
but the horns, they blowing that sound. Way on down south, way on down south, London town. Check out Guitar George, he knows all the chords. But it's strictly rhythm, he doesn't wanna make it cry or sing. If that an old guitar is all he can afford, when he gets up under the lights to play his thing, and Harry doesn't mind if he doesn't make the scene. He's got a daytime job, he's doing alright. He can play the honky-tonk like anything, saving it up Friday night with the Sultans, with the Sultans of Swing. The young boys, they're fooling around in the corner, drunk and dressed in their best brown baggies in their platform soles. They don't give a damn about any trumpet playing band. It ain't what they call rock and roll. And the Sultans, yeah, the Sultans, they play Creole. Creole.
Anderson is Under the Influence on Planet Rock.
These mist-covered mountains mountains are a home now for me. But my home is the lowlands, and always will be. Someday you'll return to your valleys and your farms, and you'll no longer burn to be brothers in arms. Through these fields of destruction, baptisms of fire, I've witnessed your suffering as the battle reached high. And though it didn't hurt me so bad, in the fear and alarm, you did not desert me, my brothers in arms. There's so many different worlds, so many different suns, and we have just one world, but we live in different ones. Now the sun's gone to hell, the moon's riding high. Let me bid you farewell. Every man has to die, but it's written in the stars, in every line in your palm. We're fools to make war on our brothers in arms.
Another classic song there from Dire Straits, a piece from the 80s called Brothers in Arms, and that did really, really well. And for a kind of slow and lazy track, it surprisingly had a great commercial success. I think partly it resonates for me because it does speak of the unspeakable. It speaks about the difficulty of being a rebel, being maybe even a terrorist in today's terminology, and the comradeship, the even if perhaps misguided, that comes from people fighting against something and things getting a little out of hand. But Yeah, it speaks of troubled times, but in an articulate and intelligent way. Hence, it is truly classy rock. Brothers in Arms there from Dire Straits. All over the American airwaves in the 80s, this piece of music you could not escape. It was on almost as much as Sultans of Swing. This is a piece that I suppose represents that interest that must have been there from at least Sting and probably from Stuart Copeland. Of course, Stuart Copeland, he came from another life. He was the drummer with that slightly slippery prog rock band that we heard a few programs ago, when he was playing with Curved Air. That's right, Curved Air. He was the kind of hippie drummer in Curved Air. Then he surfaced again with the Police and got this great backbeat thing going. Actually, a very, very, not necessarily simple, and certainly not simplistic, but an economic drumming style, and a very, very potent drumming style it was too. Exemplified in this piece, which owes more than a little to the reggae roots that maybe Sting had in his native Newcastle. Who knows? All sorts of reggae goes on up there, I expect, on a dark and cold winter's night. This is Roxanne, the piece.
Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light. Those days are over. You don't have to sell your body to the night. Roxanne, you don't have to wear that dress tonight. Walk the streets for money. You don't care if it's wrong or if it's right. Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light. Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light. Roxanne, 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 since I knew you, I wouldn't talk down to you. I have to tell you just how I feel. I won't share you with another boy. I know my mind is made up, so put away your makeup. Told you once, I won't tell you again. It's the bad way. Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light. Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light. You don't have to put on the red light. Roxanne, Roxanne,
That was the last in the current series of Under the Influence with Ian Anderson. But next Sunday at 7 o'clock, hear the best bits of the series as Ian Anderson goes through folk rock, caftan moments, the blues. You can hear it all next Sunday at 7 o'clock in the best of Under the Influence, only on Planet